All right, greeting everybody. This is Bishop Perry. I'm coming on today because tonight we're not going to have our normal Bible study. We're having a night of recognition, of academic recognition. So I just thought I would come on and do a little something before we get to our night of recognition, of academic recognition. And I just wanted to talk to you briefly about dealing with discouragement. Dealing with discouragement. I know that there are some times that we have to become discouraged, rather. And so, how do we deal with it? When I look at Isaiah 41 and 10, it says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Discouragement often hits you the hardest when you're stretching your faith and not seeing the results. I'm going to say that again. Discouragement often hits you the hardest when you're stretching your faith and not seeing results. The easiest way to defeat discouragement is to encourage somebody else. I've learned that over the many years that I've been saved. The easiest way to get over discouragement yourself is to encourage somebody else. You also have to learn to encourage yourself in the Lord. David encouraged himself in the Lord. That's what David did. He encouraged himself in the Lord. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. You can't always look for somebody to be the encourager to you. You should be encouraging somebody, but you also should encourage yourself. Most people need affirmation when they're stepping out into new territory, taking on new challenges, or putting on the when they're putting it all on the line. So if I'm stepping out into something new, or I'm taking up a new challenge, or I'm putting everything on the line, I need affirmation. I need encouragement. If I'm first time going to college, I've never been to college. It's been a while since I've been out of school. I know I'm supposed to go. I'm going to need encouragement and affirmation to help me as I'm putting it out there, for me to see what I need to do. The most important time to affirm somebody is when they're stretching and taking risks. People don't need criticism or critical voices. They need people around them who will say, "You can do it. Hang in there. I'm proud of you for trying." Did you hear what I said? They need people around, and you need people around you that's going to tell you, "You can do it. Hang in there. I'm proud of you for trying." You ought to be there for your spouse and your children. You ought to be there for your spouse and your children. Don't be that negative voice pointing out the 14 reasons why they could fail, even if they don't get everything they're hoping for. The stretching will prepare them to go further the next time. So don't be saying, "Oh yeah, let me give you 10 reasons why that won't happen. Let me give you 10 reasons why you won't be successful." No, let them stretch. And even if they don't reach the goal that they're looking for, allow them to stretch out anyway. You're never supposed to stop learning, growing, and taking risks. Life is meant to stretch us. The people who inspire other people are the ones who never stop reaching. They go from glory to glory. Hello, Daisy. I'm sorry, I just jumped on, so thank you so much. They go from glory to glory and accomplishing great things with life rather. God has given them because they don't hold back. I'm gonna say that again. The people who inspire other people are the ones who never stop reaching. That's what inspires people. People that never stop reaching. No matter how many times they fail, they keep reaching, and they go from glory to glory, accomplishing great things in life with their life and that God has given them because they don't hold back. They laid everything on the line. I was watching it just like a relay race. When you're in a relay race and you're behind, you have to put everything on the line. You can't leave nothing on the track. If you get to the end of your leg and you still have energy left and you can still breathe normally and your legs are not tired, then you haven't put everything on the line. In this season, and I need to say this to somebody, in this season, you need to put everything on the line. You need to stop. You should never stop reaching, and don't hold back. Don't hold back. Don't let anybody tell you, "Well, you shouldn't do that." You can't. Don't hold back. God even wants you to try things that seem impossible. I'm looking at a situation as the pastor of the Sanctuary Church. We have been blessed with 3 properties. I'm looking at a situation where we are going to start building our edifice on the Indian Trail property. You're just waiting for the final papers to be approved and signed off. and sent to us back by the county, and then of course getting the contractor and all of that. But that's something I can't do within my. I don't have the money to pay for the whole. If I did, I would pay for the whole project. But God said that it was going to be debt free. I don't know how it's going to work, but I trust God. And I'm putting out something that may seem impossible to man, but it is not impossible with God. So I'm trusting God for the impossible. Jesus told one man in a boat to get out and walk on water. That was Peter. That's why we call, excuse me, that's what we call a stretch. Uh, Jesus told another dead guy who was stinking in the grave, Lazarus, get up from the grave, come out of your grave clothes and walk out of your tomb. He told his disciples to feed thousands with only a basket of bread and fish. God expects greatness out of you because we were made in his image and he is limitless. He knows what you're capable of, even if you don't know. Now let's back up to when we talk about Peter walking on the water. We always talk about, Peter walking out, you see the waves, you get nervous. We say that's the miracle of Peter walking on the water, but there was two miracles there. Not only did Peter walk out on the water, but when he went with Jesus, he walked back to the boat on the same water that he was sinking in. So he saw two miracles in his life. He walked out on a word. And I'm telling somebody on today, God has spoken a word to you. You need to step out on that word. I know the waters, and we paint this picture. I'm in the process of doing the book of John with Dallas Theological Seminary, and we're going over the book of John. And and they brought up a very interesting point. When we paint the picture of Peter walking on the water, we paint a picture of all this turbulent waves and like the ocean when you're on a cruise ship and you see all the waves. But you got to remember, he was walking on a lake. Did you hear me? A lake. A lake waters does not look like that of an ocean. We paint it like an ocean water. But he was walking on the water. And I'm not discounting that the waves could have been tumultuous. But I am saying that he took on a word, he stepped out on something that he wasn't supposed to be walking on. And when he started looking at his situation, and that's why you can't get discouraged, because you start looking at your situation and you start saying, oh, I'm going to drown, I'm going to sink, this is not going to be successful. And you start sinking because you took your eyes off of Jesus and you start looking at what you were walking on. And you start saying, wait a minute, I'm too far out in this boat. I'm not supposed to be walking on this. And your mind start telling you all the reasons why you can't do something, when we need to be able to say, hey, if God told me to come, then I'm going. I'm not going to worry about the water. I'm not going to worry about the waves. I'm not going to worry about the winds. I'm going to go with him. But when he sunk, Jesus reached up his hand, and together, do you hear me? They walked back together. So there are times when you may falter, but when you put your hand in the hand of the man who can still the water, he can be able to walk you back to the place that he called you out of. Ooh, I don't think you heard me. He's able to walk you back to the place he called you out of. So that was two miracles that happened with that. And even with Lazarus, let's look at Lazarus. Let's unpack that for a moment. Mary and Martha and Lazarus were friends of Jesus. Lazarus became sick. They sent word to Jesus, come and heal him. Your friend Lazarus is sick. Jesus said, I got stuff to do. I'll be there. He we look at it, he came on the fourth day. Now that was a biblical point on the fourth day, because even in that time, they believed within 3 days, you could be rose again. But on the fourth day, they believed that was it. That was the 10th. You knocked out, you're not getting back up. That was it. And then they had him in the tomb, wrapped up. Now, here's the difference between Mary and Martha. Mary, even though Jesus came, was like, I'm not going out there. Martha said, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. However, I know that if you say so, it will happen. So he goes to the tomb and he tells them to roll the stone away. Hey, by now he's stinking. Yeah, the fourth day, decomposing. He's stinking. Tell them to roll the stone away. They roll the stone away. All this discouragement, all these people around there looking and saying, and I truly believe the reason he had to call Lazarus by name, if he'd have just said, come forth, every person that had been in a tomb would have to come forth, because at the name of Jesus, the power of God, everything would have come forth. And I look at that and I think about this thing about even with the baskets of fish and the bread. It was a miracle to show people that God, I am the bread of life. I'm the bread of life. I'm the bread of life. I'm showing you right now that when I speak, I can supply not just enough, but more than enough so that there's excess afterwards. Oh, did you hear me? God in this season, he wants to not just fill your basket, but he wants to fill your belly, but he wants you to have extra afterwards. You know, every time you go to the store and they have savings or whatever, at the end of the transaction, they'll tell you you saved this amount of money. Well, the reality of it is, it would have been nice if you could have saved all of it, but they're telling you that so that it does to you, it don't look as bad. Well, it could have cost me $100 more, but I saved $100. That does, but see, God is not like doesn't do math like that. He doesn't say at the end of this, I saved you $100. You know, he said, I gave you more, exceedingly abundantly above, more than you can ever hope and or imagine. So we often live at the minimum instead of at the maximum. Oh, let me back up to the last verse because I need to get that point out to you again. So he calls him and he tells him to come forth. And then this is something he said, loose him and let him go. So he had to get rid of the grave clothes, the grave cloth, the thing that designated him as being dead and buried. He had to eliminate that so that he could be shown as alive. There's some of you have been wrapped around in some stuff that it's like a grave cloth. I'm just declaring and decreeing to you today, break it off. Come forth, unloose you now and let it go. You're going to be loose from some things that been binding you up. So, and God knows that you're capable, what you're capable of, even if you don't know it yourself. God knows what you're capable of, even if you don't know it yourself. And let me wind this up. We often live at a minimum instead of living at a maximum of who we are and what we have right now. We live a minimalized life when we should be living a maximized life. I need you to understand that. You need to start living a maximized life and not a minimalized life. You need to live your best life now. You're here on earth because you have purpose, and God has purpose for you, and you still have purpose for the kingdom. Walk it out, work it out, do what God called you to do. Be obedient, be humble, have good character, have good integrity. Walk out the things that God tells you to walk out, how he tells you. Don't question, just obey, because it is better to obey than to sacrifice all the bulls, rams, and give all the tithes and millions of dollars. But if you're not obedient, you're disobedient. And partial obedience is still disobedience. I need you to hear me that. You may say, if I had this or if I had that, but you don't necessarily need addition. You need an extreme extension of what God has already given you. Ooh, let me say that again. Some of you may say, well, if I had this, Bishop, if I only had that, but you don't need any of that addition. You need an extreme extension of what God has already given you. You don't need the extra. You don't need this or that. You just need an extreme extension of what God has already gifted and given you to do. You have a gift in you. You have a calling on your life. You don't need this or that. You just need to have an extreme extension of what God has already given you. And the only way, rather, God will get that out of you is by moving you out of your comfort zone. I'm telling you, I'm a witness that God gets stuff out of you when you are moved out of your comfort zone. I tell people this all the time, and they shudder at amazement, especially when I tell them that I did 2 tours on the drill field. I am an introverted person by nature, an extremely introverted person by nature. That is my natural default mechanism. But God uses me in an extroverted way to bless his people. He takes the foolishness of man to confound the wise. Because in the natural, there's no way that an extremely extroverted person should be able to stand up, talk, and do the things that I do naturally and smooth. Even when I was on a drill field, I had to be in front of recruits and teaching and teaching drill. And when I was the battalion drill master, I had to know the drill. I had to be out there judging the drill. I had to do extroverted things with an introverted personality. That's why I know that God has gifted. I look at all the things that I did throughout my life, and all those things pointed me to where I am right now. So you need to get out of your comfort zone. Stop trying to be comfortable. This is not the season to be comfortable. It's the season to be stretched. So embrace the stretch as I wrap this up. Embrace the stretch and let God show you who you really are. I need you to hear me today. Embrace the stretch and let God show you who you really are. You know, it's like in the movie Moana when she's singing, I know who you are. God says, I know who you are. I created you. I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. I created you on purpose, for purpose. Now stretch, get out of your comfort zone, get that extreme extension of what God has already put in you, and watch God do a great work in you. Like I said, I just wanted to jump on here real quick and give you a word on tonight before we get to the national night of academic recognition for our students from pre-K all the way up to college. I'm so excited about the educational pursuits of the many people and the members of the Sanctuary Church. I'm excited that they look to want to continue their education, whether in secular or whether in some of them have dual. They got secular degrees as well as biblical degrees like I do. I'm even looking at trying to go back myself to do some more training because I got really excited when I started studying the book of John in the seminary of Dallas Theological. So I'm looking and seeing about possibly registering for some classes with them because I want to be the best that I can be. I know that there's no perfect theology, but I want to be able to say that I rightly divided the word of truth as I presented it to God's people. I don't want to be in error. I don't want to purposely mislead God's people. I want to study to show myself approved, a workman that's rightly dividing the word of truth. And I pray that you would do the same. Love you. And remember, this is our season to be. This is our season to build. This is our season to evangelize. This is our season to build. This is our season to evangelize. This is our season to get out of the four walls, to go out to the highways and the hedges and compel men to come. This is our season to get out of the four walls and to be an effective moving person and a moving people, rather, in this community and around the Morongo Basin and beyond. We are called to reach the lost and hurting with the power and love of God through the spirit and the truth of his word, equipping them to take their place in the kingdom of God because we love people. We love God, we love people, and we give hope. God has called us for such a time as this. So I ask you to rally yourself around, share this on your feeds, and watch God bless your people. Thank you so very much for watching. And I know some of you probably still at work and you'll watch it later, but I love you. I appreciate you. And thank you for spending this time with me. I'm going to pause for a moment because I know there's about a 10-second feed difference so that I don't cut off in the middle of my talking. So if you see me stopping and not saying nothing, it's not because I'm stuck. It's because I want to make sure that I'm off on all of my social media platforms. Love you. Grace and peace be multiplied.